Empire actor Jussie Smollett has been arrested. His bail set at $100,000. And this follows news that he actually staged the entire attack where he had alleged that two individuals who were Trump supporters had attacked him viciously. Now, according to the New York Times and their reporting, Smollett was upset by his salary and seeking publicity. He staged a fake assault on himself a week after writing himself a threatening letter. Now, that threatening letter also included a powdery substance that was not harmful, didn't get any attention, and since it didn't get any attention, he allegedly hired two individuals to stage this attack. Now, the staged assault was carried out by two brothers to whom the actor has paid $3,500 and that they have a copy of the check Smollett used to pay them. So they did provide evidence, and I'm glad that they kept that evidence. I wish they hadn't agreed to do this, but nonetheless, they provided that evidence to the authorities, and this is the reason why they were let go, and Smollett was later arrested.
Yeah, they're cooperating witnesses, so they're fine. There's almost no question here. There's surveillance footage showing them taking a cab from the area of the reported assault of two brothers. Police did a great job. They tracked the cab, they interviewed the driver, and the driver explained who the two customers were, and it was the two brothers. They then later flew to Nigeria. I don't know if they're escaping the country or laying low for a while. I don't know if they saw that in the movies or in a TV show. What does that mean? You're gonna come back. They're gonna be able to interview you when you come back.
Right, and then they were, but we don't know why they went to Nigeria, but they were arrested immediately upon arrival in Chicago, so.
Yeah.
And Cenk, I actually wanna go to the police superintendent in Chicago. He gave a press conference today, and I really liked a lot of what he had to say. This is just a small snippet of it though, let's take a look.
Empire actor Jussie Smollett took advantage of the pain and anger of racism to promote his career. I'm left hanging my head and asking why. Why would anyone, especially an African-American man, use the symbolism of a noose to make false accusations? How could someone look at the hatred and suffering associated with that symbol and see an opportunity to manipulate that symbol to further his own public profile? How can an individual who's been embraced by the city of Chicago turn around and slap everyone in this city in the face by making these false claims?
That was Superintendent Eddie Johnson. He also said, quote, "I just wish that the families of gun violence in this city got this much attention." And I think that's a fair point to make. And look, obviously the worst part of all of this is that by staging this type of racial attack, it makes people question or become way more skeptical of others who have legitimately been targets of hate crimes.
Yeah, well, I actually thought that he put it nearly perfectly when he said, take that symbol of hate and use it as an opportunity to manipulate that symbol to further his own public profile. It's about as gross as you can get, but beyond gross, illegal to do a false report to the police. Maximum sentence is 3 years. Everybody's talking like he's not going to get any time. Probation is also possible, but I don't know why we're assuming that. I know he's a little famous, I guess more famous now or infamous, and a little wealthy, but I don't make that assumption at all. And I'll tell you this, if it was a white person who faked an attack by two black guys to get out of something or for whatever reason and said, oh yeah, it's like, for example, Black Lives Matter attacked me and they're terrible and you should be looking for black men, and that would be awful, terrible, false crime, false allegation, and I would ask for jail time for that. I think, I don't know what the right number is, 6 months, I have no idea. But if I want it in that case, I should want it in this case, and I do. So they'll have to prove it. He still claims that he didn't do it, but I mean, the evidence appears to be overwhelming.
Yes.
They also have him calling the brothers a little bit before the attack and a little bit after the attack. Okay, so come on. There's two elements of the story. One is what happened, and then two is the media reaction, celebrity reaction, etc.
I wanted to get to that actually.
Yeah, so just last thing on why I was initially skeptical about it, and I thought Anna did a great job of covering it on the day that it happened.
Before you get to your point, can I actually show the audience the way we covered it? Because oftentimes we are very clear about where we stand on political issues, but more importantly, we want to get to the bottom of the truth, even if it goes against our beliefs, right? The point is not to pass down some sort of agenda. The point is to tell the audience the truth. And for all the criticisms we get for race baiting, right?
Hilarious.
Right. I mean, the way we covered this story was the right way to cover it. And I'm not just saying that to toot my own horn. I know that everyone else in this network would cover it the same way. We're not looking to push for a nonsense, racial agenda. Again, we want to get to the truth. And this is how we covered it when the story first broke. And there was a tremendous amount of pressure to cover the story in the first place, even though we didn't have all the information yet. Take a look.
An actor from the show Empire was allegedly beaten. Well, he was definitely beaten, but the story, we're trying to get down to the details of it. We'll give you what we have so far. It seems like it was a racially and sexual orientation motivated beating.
I just want to really emphasize that we don't know who the attackers are. We don't know whether or not those things were actually said or yelled out. There are some sources saying that, but as we know, whether these people are witnesses, I have no idea. We don't know who they are. And I'm always super hesitant to say like, yes, this was racially charged, or yes, it was this or that. We don't know. We don't know at this moment.
So that's, I think, the exact right way to cover it. And earlier in the week, I talked about it on air for the first time when in expressing skepticism when it was warranted. At that point, we had new evidence showing that it likely was staged. And then last night, when police finally arrested him, Ben and I talked about it at length on Old School, another program that we have. And look, why were we initially skeptical? I know why the right wing was initially skeptical. They're skeptical of every attack on a minority in this country. And of course, the reality is, in overwhelming majority of the times, 99% or higher, there's no hoax, there's no actor trying to get more attention. It's just a regular person who was attacked, and it's our job to seek justice in that situation, okay? But for the non-right wingers, the reason we were skeptical is it was just too convenient. There was the noose, which he kept around his neck and walked home with. There was the bleach. There was the attacking on him for his race and for his sexual orientation. Somehow these masked men knew him at 2 in the morning, had the bleach, had the noose with him, had all that, and on top of that said, this is MAGA country. It's possible, and different variations of that have happened throughout, where there's 1 or 2 elements of a story like that, but man, he laid it on thick. And so that's why we were skeptical. But now let's turn to the overall coverage of it and how people's reactions. Like a lot of people, like the celebrities that tweeted on his behalf in the beginning. So Michael B. Jordan, Tracy Ellis Ross, and so many others. They meant really well. Why would they question him? They're not experts on news. They don't know what a fake attack versus a real attack looks like. Someone they know, or even if they don't know him, who's someone in their profession says, I was viciously attacked. Your natural instinct is empathy, right? And there's nothing wrong with that instinct. And at the time, the police were backing out what Smollett had said. They had no reason to doubt him if they don't know, like if they don't track the news every single day to know what real attacks look like, right? And so Robin Roberts, she interviewed him. But before any story came out questioning his side of the story, there was a little bit of doubt, but doubt from, again, dubious sources, and the police were backing him up even when Robin Roberts interviewed him on ABC. And all the way throughout. And for all the insane people on the right wing who say, oh yeah, you see that? This proves that it's fake news. No, it proves the opposite. Because if there was a conspiracy to blame Trump supporters for this attack, why did they break the conspiracy? Why did the news then turn around and say, no, it was fake and he's been arrested? Right. That makes no sense at all. No, they acted on the best information they had. And this is what's frustrating. Every day, because of the right wing in this country has lost its mind, we have to debate with borderline lunatics that thought, no, the press invented the story. They wanted to blame the Trump supporters. But you say, well, logically, then why would they then today turn around and say it was Smollett who did it and it's his fault? And they go, I don't care about logic, fake news.
I know.
No, they reported what they had then, they reported what they had in the middle, and now they're reporting what they have based on the information that is public and from the police itself. And they did the right thing.
Yeah, I think there are a number of different things happening. In response to some on the right wing who think that there's some sort of conspiracy against them and all that. I think that right now, every political issue, every racial issue is one big game where you're on one of two teams. And you want to win at any and all costs. And unfortunately, while we play this game, we don't listen to one another. We continue to widen this giant divide that we're already dealing with. And I don't know what the solution is because it feels like things keep getting worse, but we need to figure out a way to just calm down for a second and stop seeing things as my side versus their side. We need to get to the truth and we need to look out for one another as Americans. Like, we're so far removed from that. I don't know if we ever had that as a country. I know growing up, when I was much more idealistic, I really did feel like we looked out for one another, but we don't do that anymore at all. So that's one thing. The second thing I want to talk about is just how, look, we need to calm down and just put our emotions aside, or at least suppress our emotions until we have more information about everything, right? So you're right in that people didn't have all the information yet, and then as soon as they did get the right information, they made sure to update their stories, et cetera, et cetera. But there are some people that I feel on social media especially really played it up and got really emotional and really angry before we knew all the facts.
No, but look, let me defend those folks even, okay? And now we're not talking about the media, we're not talking about the figures that we discussed before.
I am talking about people in the media, but I'm not specifically talking about journalists. I'm talking about pundits, things like that. I'm not talking about strict journalists.
Right, but given the history of racism in this country, and homophobia, and given the attacks that are incredibly real and that have happened hundreds, thousands of times, when they believed that an attack like that had happened, and they would have no reason to doubt it. What? I mean, the cops are saying it happened at the time. Why would they doubt the cops randomly, right? I can understand why they're mad about the racism and the racist attacks and the homophobic attacks. Now, as it turned out in this case, this particular guy had made it up, it appears, but that doesn't negate any of the emotions that I think are real based on the facts of the attacks that have happened in the past.
Yeah, look, the emotions are fine. I think the issue that I have is just assuming that it definitely happened the way that he alleges it happens. There's no questioning him. You shouldn't be skeptical. In fact, when we
I agree with.
When we did the initial video, I'm gonna be honest with you guys about how it felt as I was commenting on it. I felt super uncomfortable commenting on it truthfully. I did comment on it truthfully, but I was worried that people are gonna start attacking me because they're gonna think, hey, she's being too skeptical of his accusations or his claims. Oh, you should believe the victim. But I felt like that's an irresponsible thing to do. As someone who has a platform, it's my responsibility to let everyone know, hey, we don't know all the facts yet. We need to wait, and then we can give you, real commentary on this. But it's uncomfortable because people think, oh no, she's denying that the victim is saying, or that the victim really went through this. And the same thing happens with people who come forward with sexual assault allegations. Look, I think that you should take every sexual assault allegation seriously, but I do not agree that you believe that person right away at any and all costs, no matter what, right?
And you go back to our Kavanaugh coverage, and you see when we began to believe Christine Blasey Ford, when we questioned the third person that came forward, and the context and the facts that we looked at to arrive at those conclusions, rather than making knee-jerk decisions. So I know what the knee-jerk thing on the right wing is. Oh yeah, they never listened to any of the facts. They always believed the woman, and they never believed the guys. That's just not true. You can look at all the videos that we've covered on all those different issues. Aziz Ansari is another example, but Anna's right. There are people on the left that say, no, if the woman in the Aziz Ansari case says this happened, that's a 100%, and you are not allowed to question it. Sorry, we are allowed to question it. That's part of our jobs. And by the way, this also applies to the establishment. So we talked about the right wing and the left wing, but the establishment will tell you when Mark Sanford, I don't know if you guys remember this story, he was the governor of South Carolina. went missing. And it was such a weird story. And then he put out a statement that he was on the Appalachian Trail. And I came out on the show and I said, he is not. There's no way a governor goes missing because he decided to go camping on the Appalachian Trail for a couple of days. That's not a thing that happens. No, he's doing something that he doesn't want people to find out about. And at the time, people were like, how dare you? This is a governor. You're accusing a governor of not telling the truth? Goddamn right I am, okay? Because and guess what? It turned out, of course he wasn't on the Appalachian Trail. He was having sex with his mistress down in Argentina, okay? And yes, we question governors and politicians. They're the first people you should question. So each category, whether it's right wing, left wing, or the establishment, has their own sacred cows. But when you're covering the news, you can't have sacred cows. You have to actually look at the facts.
Right.
Look, I don't want this to come across as us, gloating over the fact that I think that we covered it right all throughout, okay? I just wanna say for the next time that it happens, just put aside for a second where you're from. That doesn't, politically and ideologically, but that doesn't mean, in this case, coming back to Smollett, because he made it up that the rest of all of the attacks that have happened in this country against black people and gay people aren't true. If you think that, then you don't care about the facts at all.
I mean,
don't pretend that you do.
A self-proclaimed white nationalist just got arrested because he was gonna terrorize, and he had stockpiled weapons and drugs and everything. He was gonna terrorize left-wing politicians, including Blumenthal, who he referred to as Blumenjew.
He was gonna murder those people.
He was gonna murder people.
And this Smollett story has gotten about 1,000 times more coverage than the FBI arresting what they called a domestic terrorist who was going to murder politicians and journalists that he considered to be against Trump. Now, is there an even playing field here in how we cover the stories? No. In fact, the media, I think, goes too much out of their way to appease the right wing and say, well, on the one hand, we have thousands of racist and bigoted and homophobic attacks. On the other hand, we're gonna cover even more so one case of a guy who made it up. And then it appears, even if they're not trying to do that, and I don't think they're attempting to do it, but to the average viewer of the news, it looks like it's even. And maybe it's not even because the one case that was fake got so much more coverage than all the other cases that are true. And there's something deeply wrong with that. So I wish the news also would give better context in that case. But I'm gonna come all the way back around to Smollett himself. He's done such tremendous damage. He allowed those now right-wingers to go around and smear all other legitimate people who have been attacked, who have suffered, whether it was physical or not. And in his case, by the way, the brothers did punch him because he told them to, right? And he scratched his own face, it appears. That's why it did appear actually beaten as the police originally reported, right? And for his own fame and glory, I guess, well, mission accomplished, you're now famous, Smollett, okay? He threw other African Americans and other gay Americans under the bus. And I can't begin to describe to you how inexcusable that is. Like what you see? Click the subscribe button below and don't forget to ring the bell to never miss another video from the Young Turks.